I never thought I would be the kind of person to share something like this, but I cannot keep it to myself anymore. This happened last month at my sister's wedding, and I still feel like I am piecing together what I witnessed. It was supposed to be a perfect day, beautiful venue, stunning decorations, and all our family gathered to celebrate. But then, in the middle of the reception, the giant projector screen flickered, the music cut out, and suddenly, a woman's face appeared on the screen. At first, everyone thought it was a mistake or some sort of pre-planned slideshow. But when the woman spoke, the entire room fell silent. What she revealed changed everything. I need to start by explaining a little about my sister, Emily. She is the golden child of our family, the one who always did everything right. Straight-A student, star athlete. The kind of person who somehow manages to be effortlessly beautiful and successful at the same time. Everyone loved her. And honestly, I did too, despite the complicated feelings that sometimes came with being her little sister. Emily met her now husband Jason 3 years ago. He was charming, polite, and the kind of guy parents dream their daughter will marry. I will admit, I never felt completely comfortable around him. There was something a little too polished about him, like he was constantly aware of how he appeared to others. But Emily adored him, and our parents thought he was perfect, so I kept my feelings to myself. The wedding was set to be a grand affair, with nearly 200 guests, a high-end venue, and all the extravagance my parents could afford. I was a bridesmaid, which meant I had a front-row seat to all the chaos leading up to the big day. Emily wanted everything to be perfect, and I could tell she was stressed out. But Jason? He barely seemed involved. He showed up when he needed to, but never looked particularly excited. The ceremony itself went off without a hitch. Emily looked stunning in her dress. The vows were exchanged, and Jason kissed her in front of a cheering crowd. The reception started soon after, with the usual rounds of speeches, food, and dancing. Everyone seemed to be having a great time. Then, just as Emily and Jason were about to have their first dance as husband and wife, it happened. The large projector screen at the front of the room flickered to life. The music stopped abruptly, cutting off the DJ mid-sentence. A collective murmur spread through the guests as they turned to look at the screen. At first it was just static. Then a woman's face appeared. She was young, probably in her late 20s or early 30s, with dark hair pulled back into a ponytail. She looked serious, almost grim. And behind her, I could see a backdrop that looked like some kind of lab or office. "Hello everyone," she said. Her voice was steady but had a strange urgency to it. "I am sorry to interrupt, but this is important. My name is Dr. Evelyn Carter, and there is something you all need to know about Jason." Silence. Every single person in the room froze. I turned to look at my sister, and her face had gone completely pale. Jason, on the other hand, looked like he had seen a ghost. He did not say a word, but his entire body tensed. "Who the hell is that?" someone muttered from the back. Evelyn continued, "I know this is a wedding, and I know this is not the kind of thing anyone wants to hear right now, but I had no other choice. I have been trying to reach Emily for weeks, but Jason has made sure that I could not get through." My heart pounded. What was she talking about? Who was this woman? I glanced at Emily again. She was staring at Jason now, her eyes wide, searching his face for some kind of explanation. But he did not say a word. Evelyn took a deep breath. "I used to work with Jason, and I need you all to know the truth about him before it is too late." Then the screen flickered again, and the video cut out. For a moment nobody moved. It was as if the entire room was holding its breath. Then chaos erupted. The second the screen went dark, the room exploded into noise. People were whispering, gasping, and turning to each other in confusion. A few guests awkwardly laughed, as if waiting for someone to announce that this was some kind of elaborate joke. But the tension in the air was thick. I looked at Emily. She was completely frozen, her hands still gripping Jason's arm. But her face was something I will never forget. It was like her entire world had tilted on its axis, and she was trying to steady herself. Jason, on the other hand, sprang into action. He turned toward the DJ booth, his face dark with fury. "Turn it off," he barked, even though the screen was already black. The DJ held up his hands. "Dude, I did not do anything. I do not even know how that got on there." A few people at the back were already pulling out their phones, probably trying to look up Dr. Evelyn Carter. But Jason was not giving anyone the chance. "Emily, come with me," he said, gripping her wrist. "Now." She yanked her arm away. "No," she said, her voice sharp. "What was that? Who is she?" Jason's jaw tightened. "I have no idea. Someone is trying to mess with us." I stepped closer to my sister. "Jason, she knew your name. She said she worked with you. If this is some kind of misunderstanding, then explain it." Jason exhaled through his nose, his nostrils flaring. "Not here. Not in front of everyone." That was when my dad spoke up. "Son," he said in a measured tone. The same one he always used when he was barely holding in his anger. "If there is something you need to tell my daughter, you better do it now." Jason shook his head. "This is ridiculous." He turned to Emily again. "Come with me, please." But before Emily could say anything, the screen flickered back on. People gasped. I heard someone drop their glass. Jason turned around so fast I thought he might trip. Evelyn was back. And this time, she looked even more serious. "I knew he would try to shut this down," she said. "Jason, you cannot run from this forever." Jason swore under his breath. Emily's voice was barely above a whisper. "What is going on?" Evelyn continued. "Emily, I am sorry to do this like this, but I did not have a choice. Jason is not who he says he is. I worked with him for 2 years at a research facility in Chicago. He was brilliant, ambitious, and," she hesitated, "dangerous." The murmurs around the room grew louder. Some of Jason's friends from work looked uncomfortable, shifting on their feet, but no one interrupted. Jason clenched his fists. "Turn this off," he shouted again, looking around the room like he was searching for someone to blame. Evelyn was not stopping. Jason was working on an experimental program involving AI-generated financial algorithms. At first, it seemed harmless, just another tech startup trying to break into the industry. But then we started noticing discrepancies. Money was disappearing, data was being manipulated, and Jason always seemed to be one step ahead of any audits. Emily's face was unreadable, but I knew her well enough to see the cracks forming in her expression. Evelyn pressed forward. "I confronted him about it once." He laughed. "Told me I was being paranoid. But I dug deeper, and what I found." She shook her head. "Jason, do you want to tell them, or should I?" Jason was shaking now. With anger or fear, I could not tell. "This is insane," he said. "You are insane." Evelyn did not flinch. "Jason has been stealing millions of dollars through a complex web of AI-generated trades, laundering the money through shell companies, and covering his tracks. And Emily," she hesitated, her expression softening, "I do not think he ever planned on telling you. I think he is using you as part of his cover." The words landed like a slap. Emily inhaled sharply. "No," she whispered. "That is not true." She turned to Jason, her voice rising. "Tell her she is lying." Jason's mouth opened, then closed. Silence. And in that silence I saw it happen. The moment Emily really realized, that something was horribly, irreversibly wrong. Then, just as quickly as it had appeared, the screen cut to black again. Jason took one last look around the room, his chest rising and falling rapidly. Then, without a word, he bolted toward the exit. The second Jason sprinted for the exit, chaos erupted. People gasped, some stood up, and others instinctively moved aside, unsure of what was happening. My father was the first to react. His voice boomed through the reception hall. "Do not let him leave." But Jason was fast. Too fast. He shoved past a few guests, knocking over a chair as he ran toward the doors. For a moment, it felt like no one knew what to do. Like this was all part of some bizarre wedding prank. But the look on Emily's face told everyone this was very real. I did not think. I just acted. I kicked off my heels and ran after him. "Jason!" I yelled, but he did not even turn around. I heard footsteps behind me, other people giving chase. A few of my cousins, some of Jason's coworkers, even one of the venue's security guards. But Jason had a head start, and he knew it. He reached the doors and yanked them open. The cold night air rushed in as he bolted outside. The parking lot was mostly empty, just a few cars under the dim streetlights. Jason made a beeline for his own car, parked near the back. I pushed harder, my heart pounding. my dress twisting around my legs as I ran. Jason stopped. He fumbled with his keys, his hands shaking as he tried to unlock the car. But before he could get inside, someone tackled him to the ground. A loud thud echoed across the lot as Jason hit the pavement. I skidded to a stop, breathless. The person who tackled him? My Uncle Mark. Former military. Built like a damn linebacker. Jason struggled, cursing, trying to push him off. Get off me. Mark held him down with ease. Not a chance, kid. By then the others had caught up. My father, out of breath but furious. Some of Jason's friends, standing off to the side, whispering to each other. Emily, still in her wedding dress, her eyes filled with shock and betrayal. And then behind us, the sound of sirens. I turned just in time to see 2 police cars pulling up, their lights flashing blue and red. Someone must have called them the second Evelyn's message played. The officers got out quickly, moving with purpose. Step away from him, one of them ordered. Mark raised his hands and backed off. Jason sat up, panting, his suit dirty from the pavement. His expression flickered between anger and fear. This is a mistake, he said, his voice desperate. You have no idea what is going on. One of the officers pulled out a small tablet. Actually, we do. We received an anonymous tip earlier tonight, including evidence. Mr. Clark, you are under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, and money laundering. The words landed like a punch. Jason's face turned pale. No, this is wrong. I did not. The officer cut him off. You have the right to remain silent. I turned to Emily, expecting her to be crying, breaking down. But she just stood there, her expression blank. Like she had shut down completely. The officers cuffed Jason and pulled him to his feet. He looked around wildly, like he was searching for someone to believe him. His eyes landed on Emily. Emily, please, he begged. You know me. You know I would never. But she took a step back. And just like that, something in Jason broke. His shoulders slumped, and he let the officers lead him away. As they put him in the back of the police car, I felt someone step up beside me. I turned, and there she was. Dr. Evelyn Carter. She had actually come. She was out of breath, her ponytail slightly messy, but her eyes were sharp as they followed Jason being driven away. Then she turned to Emily. I am so sorry, she said softly. I know this is not how you should have found out, but you deserved the truth. Emily blinked, like she was trying to process everything. Then without a word she turned and walked away, disappearing back into the venue. I wanted to go after her, but I knew she needed space. Instead I turned to Evelyn. How did you do that? I asked. The screen, the timing. How did you hack it? Evelyn gave a small, tired smile. I am a woman in STEM, she said. And I was not going to let him get away with it. The reception was over. Not in the way it was supposed to be, but in the way that left an entire room of guests shaken and whispering in hushed voices. Jason was gone. The police had taken him away, the flashing red and blue lights lingering in the dark parking lot long after the cars had driven off. The night air was thick with questions, but nobody knew what to say. Inside the venue, the wedding decorations felt eerie now, like remnants of a celebration that never really happened. The cake was untouched, the music had stopped, and the dance floor, which should have been packed with happy guests, was empty. Emily was sitting in a chair, staring at nothing. Her dress, the one she had chosen so carefully, looked like it weighed 1,000 pounds on her shoulders. I approached her slowly, unsure if she even wanted me there. She spoke first, her voice hollow. I really thought I knew him. I swallowed. I know. She turned to look at me, her eyes glassy. Did you believe it? She asked. Did you believe what she said? I hesitated. Yes. She nodded, as if she had expected that answer. I think. I did too, she whispered. Silence hung between us, heavy and painful. I wanted to say something that would fix this, something that would pull her out of the spiral I knew she was falling into. But there was nothing. No words could undo what had just happened. Then Evelyn walked in. The room quieted as people noticed her. Some guests shifted uncomfortably. Others watched her with curiosity. She was the reason everything had fallen apart tonight. But she had also saved Emily from a future built on lies. She approached cautiously, stopping a few feet away. Emily, she said gently, I know you do not owe me anything, But if you have questions, I will answer them. Emily exhaled, running a hand through her hair. Was any of it real? Evelyn's face softened. I think he loved you in his own way, she said. But Jason, he was always chasing something bigger. He did not see people the way he should have. Emily let out a bitter laugh. That is comforting. Evelyn sighed. I do not expect you to forgive me for how I did this. But you deserve to know the truth before it was too late. For a long moment Emily said nothing. Then finally she stood up. Thank you, she said, her voice quiet but steady. Evelyn nodded. If you ever need anything, I am here. Then she turned and walked away. As I watched her go, I realized something. I had spent the entire night seeing Evelyn as the woman who ruined my sister's wedding. But in reality, she was the only one brave enough to save her from the disaster that had been waiting just around the corner. Emily straightened her shoulders and turned to the guests, her expression unreadable. Then, in a voice stronger than I expected, she said, I think the wedding is over. A few people chuckled awkwardly, some muttered their goodbyes, and slowly, the crowd began to disperse. As we helped Emily gather her things, I could not help but think about how different tonight was supposed to be. But maybe in a way it was better this way, because at least now Emily was free. I have spent many sleepless nights since that fateful evening, replaying every moment in my mind, as if I could somehow rewind the clock and undo the events that shattered our family celebration. I still cannot believe that one wedding, which was meant to be the happiest day in our lives, turned into a scene from a movie. In the quiet moments, when the world is still and my thoughts are loud, I find myself questioning everything I thought I knew about trust, love, and the people closest to me. In the days that followed, our family was engulfed in a mixture of sorrow, anger, and disbelief. My sister, Emily, became a quiet presence in the house. She would sit by the window for hours, lost in thoughts, her eyes distant as if searching for answers that were no longer there. I would try to sit beside her, sometimes talking softly about the past when life was simpler, and other times simply holding her hand in silence. I knew that she was processing a truth that could never be erased. The betrayal by the man she had loved, the illusions that had been shattered in front of everyone. I felt helpless as I watched her struggle with the fallout of the revelations that had come crashing down on her world. For me, the shock was not only about the betrayal, but also about the role that Evelyn Carter had played in our lives. Here was a woman who had taken it upon herself to hack into the wedding screen, risking everything to expose a truth that many would have preferred to remain hidden. I spent many evenings thinking about her, a woman in STEM, courageous and unyielding, who had stepped forward to rescue my sister from a web of lies. I had often heard stories of whistleblowers and heroes in movies, but I had never imagined witnessing such raw determination in real life. Evelyn was not a villain. She was a savior cloaked in controversy, someone who did what needed to be done regardless of the cost. I questioned whether her intervention was entirely justified, but deep down I understood that sometimes the truth must be unveiled, even if it meant tearing apart the facade that people so carefully construct around their lives. In the aftermath, our family had to navigate a treacherous path towards healing. The wedding, once a symbol of unity and love, had become a painful reminder of deceit. Family gatherings were now tinged with silence and awkward glances, as if everyone was afraid that the next conversation might trigger another memory of that disastrous night. I recall a particular moment when I sat with my father, who usually exuded strength and calm, yet now his eyes betrayed a deep sorrow. We talked quietly about the meaning of integrity and the fragility of trust. My father confessed that he had always prided himself on his ability to protect his family from the harsh truths of the world. But now he realized that sometimes, even the strongest shields could not keep out the inevitable storm. One evening, I found myself wandering through the empty halls of our family home, reflecting on how a single revelation had transformed our reality. I thought about how Jason had built his entire identity on lies, a facade of charm and ambition that hid a darker ambition fueled by greed. The shock of seeing him being led away by the police still lingered like a ghost, a reminder of how quickly the life we had known could be unraveled by one person's deceit. I realized that trust is not something that can be easily given, and once it is broken, It leaves scars that time may never fully heal. Even as I tried to understand the complexities of human nature, I could not help but feel a profound sadness for the loss of innocence that night represented. As the weeks turned into months, I began to see changes in the people around me. Emily, who had once been consumed by despair, slowly started to regain her strength. She began attending therapy sessions and even joined a support group for those who had experienced similar betrayals. In these sessions, she learned to reclaim her identity and redefine what love meant to her. I watched with cautious optimism as she rediscovered her inner resilience, a spark that had been dimmed by the weight of deception. Our conversations became deeper, more honest, and I found solace in the fact that despite the pain, there was a path forward, a way to rebuild our lives on a foundation of truth. The experience also left me with a newfound respect for the courage it takes to stand up for what is right. I often think of Evelyn Carter when I face my own challenges. Her determination to expose the truth, even at the cost of creating immediate chaos, taught me that sometimes the road to redemption is paved with uncomfortable honesty. I have come to understand that every person has a duty to their own integrity, and that protecting others from harm can sometimes mean making difficult, unpopular decisions. While many may criticize her methods, I will always be grateful for her bravery because it freed us from a web of deceit that would have strangled our future. In moments of quiet reflection, I ask myself what the lasting impact of that night will be. It is clear that the events at the wedding did not simply expose a criminal act. They forced us to confront the reality that people can be remarkably multifaceted. Jason was not all good or all evil. He was a man with ambitions, fears, and vulnerabilities that he chose to mask behind a veneer of success. His downfall is a cautionary tale that serves as a reminder of the perils of unchecked ambition and the lengths to which some will go to secure power and wealth. I find that the experience has altered my perspective on trust and love, teaching me that true strength lies in the willingness to face uncomfortable truths rather than clinging to comforting illusions. Now, as I write these reflections, I feel a complex mix of sorrow, relief, and hope. Sorrow for the innocence lost and the scars that remain. Relief that the truth has come to light even though it cost us dearly. And hope that from these trials, a more genuine, honest way of living can emerge. I know that my sister and I will never forget that night, and neither will our family, but I also believe that with time, healing is possible. Our story is not one of complete despair, but of resilience, a testament to the human spirit that can endure even the most shocking betrayals. Looking ahead, I have made a promise to myself to honor the lessons learned that night. I will never take trust for granted, and I will always strive to seek the truth, even when it is difficult to face. I have also decided to be more present for the people I care about, to listen more intently, and to speak more honestly about my feelings. Life is unpredictable, and sometimes the most painful experiences can lead to the greatest personal growth. I hope that by sharing our story, others who have faced similar betrayals or shocking revelations might find a glimmer of understanding and strength in their own journeys. In the end, the events of that wedding have reshaped my understanding of family, love, and the importance of authenticity. The image of a woman in STEM, who risked everything to expose the truth, will forever remain a powerful symbol for me. A reminder that sometimes, the greatest acts of love and courage come in the most unexpected forms. I will carry this memory with me, not as a burden, but as a lesson in the value of honesty and the power of resilience. And although the scars may fade slowly over time, the truth will always be a beacon that guides us through the darkest of nights.